Hi guys, so trigger warning, I'm going to be talking about chronic health, hospitals, blood, periods, mental health, suicide, a lot of very serious topics. So if any of those topics are triggering to you, this is not the video to watch, so please do click out. I was really hesitant on making this video just because I think in recent times I've been a little bit scared of posting on the internet lately. I don't know what it is, but I've been making YouTube videos for 10 years, and growing up my YouTube channel was like my way of expressing things, and it was so easy for me to be open on videos. And just recently I've found it so hard to share things on the internet. I'm a bit more open on streams, I think, because it feels more natural to me, but sitting down and talking one-on-one to camera like this feels so foreign to me lately. And I was thinking about the reason why, and I think it is because I just feel like I have to filter my words so much lately. And not that there's been anything really bad happening lately or that anyone has said anything, but I think I'm just so hyper aware of what the internet can do and how your words can be twisted. So I'm just like extra careful of what I say always. I put a filter on, I justify things, or I put a disclaimer. I'm even doing that literally right now. I'm just like afraid of my words being taken out of context or people taking things the wrong way, so I just opt for not saying things. So for this video I am gonna try to be as open as I can, but I do really want it to be a safe space for me and for all of you guys. So if I see any negativity in the comments, I really won't hesitate to block. So putting that boundary out there. And I also just wanted to say I will be oversharing a lot in this video. I think one of the reasons why I was hesitant on making this video in the first place is just because I actually am a pretty private person, which is surprising because I make internet content for a living and I've been doing it for 10 years, but those of you guys who have watched my videos know that I actually don't really share too much about my personal life. I've never shown my family, I've never shown partners. I don't really talk too much about what's going on in my life in detail. So it's kind of like out of my nature to do a video like this. And sometimes I feel like, oh, I'm oversharing, like who really cares to hear about this? But the reason why I am making it is because at this point it feels like it's taking me more energy not to talk about it in videos than it would be just to like make this video, and then I can finally feel free to talk about things and not have to like hide what has been going on, just because it has affected me so much as a person in the past year, and it feels weird to not be able to talk about it. So all of that being said, I wanted to talk about my health recently, and I've alluded to a lot of different health issues that I have had within the past year. I kind of did leave out some major details, which is what I wanted to explain now. But in order to do that, we have to kind of go back all the way to high school. I'm gonna be talking about periods, so if you do not have a period or you don't want to hear about periods, this is not the video for you, okay? But I do feel like talking about periods and menstruation should be less taboo, because then maybe what happened to me would help someone else. I don't know. Okay, so back in high school, and this was like 10 years ago I was in high school, I've always had just like normal periods, and then all of a sudden there's this one period that I had, and I kid you guys not, it was like 20 days long. It was crazy. It was super heavy to the point where I thought I was like internally bleeding, and at certain points I actually like fainted and I got taken to the hospital. The emergency room doctors were just like, oh, she's just low on iron, take some iron supplements, she'll be fine, try not to get up too quickly. That is literally a thing that a doctor said to me, try not to get up too quickly. After fainting twice, I think actually 3 times, I think I fainted 3 times within that 20-day period. So that was kind of crazy, because like deep down I was like, I know that this is a little bit more than just like low iron. On the 3rd time fainting, I think then the doctors were like, okay, something's definitely up, and they took my blood test results, and I was really low on hemoglobin, which is like red blood cells, I believe. So normal levels for hemoglobin is like somewhere between 120 and 150, I believe, and my levels at that point were at a 60. So I was half the normal rate. I think once it gets below 70, that's when it gets to like a dangerous rate. So that's when they initiated a blood transfusion for me. So I did get a blood transfusion when I was in high school, and luckily that went well. And after that blood transfusion, I was put on birth control for a little bit to regulate the periods, and things were pretty much normal after that. I still had heavy periods after, but I would say they were just like normal heavy periods. It wasn't like anything crazy anymore. So I thought I was out of the woods. Still definitely had like low iron levels, so I would be taking iron supplements pretty much regularly from then on. So for 10 years I've been taking iron supplements. And I eventually got upgraded to the more intense iron supplements that you do not get on the shelf. It's the ones that are sold over the counter. It's a higher dosage. So fast forward to last year, I was starting to feel a little bit low on energy, and anyone who's anemic or has really low iron, and I'm not just talking like a little bit low, I'm talking like really low iron, knows how much of a toll it takes on your energy. It's seriously hard to get out of bed, to get yourself to do something. The brain fog is so intense. Your body is just like, it's just like a brick. Like you can't do anything. I kind of pushed through that. I was trying to fix the iron stuff with the supplements and diet. And then in the summer of 2022, last year, I was in Vancouver with my friend Jen and Jesse, and we were actually on a hike in the mountains in Vancouver, and I was on my period then. It was pretty normal. I mean, it was like a normal period for me, which is like on the heavier side, but it was like, you know, every other period that I've ever had. And while we were on the hike, I started realizing like, oh, my period's getting like really heavy. And again, I know this is TMI, but just to give you guys a level of like how heavy it was, I would have to change the situation down there every hour. And mind you, I was wearing overnight with a Diva cup, okay? So that is pretty insane. And again, it was similar to that period that I experienced in high school, where I just like literally thought I was internally bleeding. It was crazy, and I knew something was up. So while we were on that hike, I was like, guys, I think something's wrong. Like, this is not normal. So we went to the urgent care center, and they gave me blood clotting medication to like stop the bleeding basically, and also got my iron levels checked out, like my blood levels, and it was back down to 70. So that explained a lot. And then it's like 75 or something like that. So not as low as the one in high school, but still very low. It was either 75 or 80 or something like that. So I was like, oh God. This, I was having flashbacks to the transfusion. So then I go back to Toronto, and I end up seeing my doctor, and she's like, okay, this is definitely not normal. Like, you know, if it was just a one-off thing in high school, you should have been fine by now. So let's just get things checked out. We do a bunch of tests. I go to a bunch of doctors, do a lot of blood tests. I'm a pro at getting my blood drawn now, which is like crazy because growing up I used to be like terrified of needles, and I was that kid who would scream cry when they had to get a needle. I end up getting a referral to this like blood specialist, I think, and they recommend a iron transfusion. So that's different from a blood transfusion. An iron transfusion basically means they're injecting iron into your bloodstream, and it's a much higher dosage of iron than just taking it orally through supplements or vitamins. I think it's like 5 or 10 times the amount of iron. Don't quote me on that, but it's a lot more. So we do that, and it actually does help a lot. So I got that done back in October, and it did help a lot in terms of my energy a little bit. But this whole time I've been like, is low iron truly like the only reason for these crazy periods? Like, can iron really affect your periods that much? And luckily I did have a doctor. At this point I have a new doctor from like the high school doctor, high school doctors who kind of like dismissed my concerns down there. But my current doctor, I love her, she's amazing. She's like, yeah, like this is kind of strange, let's like get you a referral for an ultrasound and a gynecologist to get it checked out. So, sirens. Oh my god, what is with these sirens? So I believe I had the sonohysterogram first, and that's when they found something called polyps. From what I understand, polyps are like little bumps in your uterus, and they're not like cysts. I don't know. I should probably do a little bit more research, but they're just little bumps, abnormal bumps in your uterus, and they're really small. It's not super common to get it when you're young, so my doctors did have some concern about that, which is why we wanted to get an ultrasound done, just to check that they were benign and to check that there wouldn't be any issues with fertility after. So I went into an ultrasound, and this was probably like one of the harder moments of this entire process. It is just like going to get an ultrasound, going to all these appointments, and like at this point I'm used to people like prodding around down there, but the ultrasound was like particularly hard because the doctors again like mentioned like, oh, we need to double check that it's benign and that there's no issues with fertility. They did say like it's probably like a low possibility of that happening, but just like that possibility was really scary to me. So going to those appointments, and like especially at ultrasounds, typically the only people at ultrasound appointments are like mothers to be, so it's just like all these families in the waiting room and then just like me. And it was like kind of crazy. It really did make me like reevaluate what I wanted out of life, because I've always been the type of person who said like, you know, I don't know if I want kids, but then the possibility of not having that choice was like really scary. That appointment was just really scary to me because my family does have like a history of cancer, so I was just like really worried. Luckily they said everything was okay. They did say they would still have to remove the polyps, and to remove the polyps it's a surgery, and they go in there and like they basically like cut off all the little bumps, because the hospitals are all backed up because of COVID and whatnot. Even though I had those appointments months ago, the only time that I could get a surgery appointment was recently. Up until this point, I've just been kind of like waiting for my surgery day, and also just like praying and hoping that the iron infusion will be enough to keep the crazy periods at bay. I literally have like blood clotting pills on hand with me at all times, just in case at any point something starts happening. So then recently I had my surgery, and that was the polyps removal surgery. Yay, finally something. And luckily the surgery went well. I was put under anesthesia. It went by super quickly. Like I mentioned in my Make Plan With Me, I literally blinked, I woke up and they're like, okay, you're done. And I was like, what? It was very trippy. And you know, afterwards there were some side effects. Like I did have like a fever and some bleeding and stuff, but luckily I think it went okay. I do have like follow-up appointments afterwards, so we shall see if everything is sorted out down there. It's just been a very crazy journey, and it's affected my energy a lot. I think if I could take away one lesson from all of that, is just really trust yourself, trust how well you know your body, and advocate for your own health. I do feel good knowing now that like at least something was done. Before it was like taking these little like iron pills felt so frivolous. Not frivolous, because I know, you know, iron supplements do help in certain aspects, but I was like, is it really enough for the level that things got to? So I do feel glad that something at least happened, and you know, I guess we'll see how everything turns out. Now, moving on to a slightly different topic, which is the matter of mental health. I did wonder how much of this I wanted to talk about, just because it's not really fully resolved or sorted through yet. Just because everything's been going on at the same time, it's hard to tell where one thing ends and another thing start. I guess I'll say, you know, I would never really consider myself like a particularly sad or depressed person all throughout my life. I started noticing that something was definitely off last year, and because of everything that was going on with my energy levels and my iron, it was hard to tell whether it was a result of everything that was going on with that or if it was something else. I kind of knew that it might have been something else in addition to that, but I wanted to get like that physical health stuff sorted out before jumping to any conclusions, and my doctor thought the same as well. You know, kind of gotta fix the body first, and then we can like sort everything else out. The reason why I knew something else was up is because things just felt like way different. Like I'm always kind of used to being tired and not motivated, but this was like a different level. I was like not just tired and not motivated on a physical level, but a like deeper level, like something deep seated in me. It was like something was just dragging me down so much. And you know, there would be good days. It's not like every single day since last year has been awful. It kind of like comes in and out. I think recently, especially within the past few months, like 2023, it has gotten pretty bad. I actually went to the doctor last week, and I went in with the intention of getting an ADHD diagnosis because I thought I had ADHD. I was like, why can't I focus on anything? Like, why all of these things? She did say I showed moderate signs of ADHD, so it's still a possibility. One of the things that she said was like, are we sure it's not depression or anxiety? And when she asked me that, I was like, wait, you're right. I don't know why I like brushed that possibility off. I think I was so used to attributing so many things to like my health. If you guys have ever been to a doctor where they like ask you about depression, it's like pretty confronting. The questions are really intense. I'm laughing about it now just because like that's how I cope with things, but I think the funny part is like when someone asks you those questions, you know the answer that you're supposed to be giving. Not supposed to be giving. You know the answer that results in the depression diagnosis. You know what I mean? Like when someone asks you like, oh, do you sleep more than usual, or do you feel not motivated? Like I know in my head that when I say yes to those things, that likely means depression. And specifically like one of the questions that was asked was, like, have you ever thought about suicide or death? Again, I never considered myself a depressed or suicidal person, but within the past few months, there have been these like fleeting thoughts where like I just like think about death. And like, I don't know if this is like a crazy thing to be talking about while I'm smiling, but it's like a fleeting thought. I don't know how to describe it. It's like, oh, like jokingly, like death would be easier. And I know me saying that sounds so morbid, but it's not as bad. I'm like telling myself it's not as bad. Like I don't think I'm suicidal, but I know hearing that those words sounds like intense. Even me saying this in this video, I know it's gonna be so scary, especially because knowing friends and family might be watching this. Like, do not worry. I'm not suicidal. I'm not thinking about doing anything. But yeah, like I've thought about death before. She asked me those questions, and she was like, oh yeah, like in what context do you think about death? I'm like, oh, like it would be like freeing. And like that scared me to hear myself say that. If I heard any of my friends or family talking about themselves like that would hurt me so much. Whoa, I don't know, it was just like a moment. Anyway, so she did diagnose me with depression. Sorry, again, I cope with things by making sarcastic jokes about them, okay? I love my doctor so much, but there's this moment in the appointment, and I actually like have I vlogged a little bit after that appointment just because I've been vlogging at certain moments just because for myself even. I don't like, they never go anywhere, but I feel like me vlogging for myself has been like my private little YouTube expression. It kind of like reminds me of when I started making YouTube videos back then. So I did like vlog a little clip after the appointment, reflecting on what my doctor said, and one of the things that she said that stood out to me was, the good news is, now that you've come here and told me about it, I don't know the exact words, but she said like, this is the last day that you'll feel like this, or we can start working on making you feel better from now on. And those words just hit me so hard because I think I was just at a point in life where I just automatically accepted that I would always be sad, always be in the dumps. I would always be at this low point, and I just accepted that as like fact. Like I never, oh, I guess this is how I'm gonna be feeling forever now. And yeah, hearing her say those words too was like very validating. Getting that diagnosis was pretty validating, but also in a way I just felt like sad for myself just because I had always dismissed the idea of my mental health being in that serious of a state. And I was like sad for myself just because now I can see how sad I was, if that makes sense. Like I wish I reached out sooner or did something sooner about it, because not that time is ever wasted, but I think I could have started feeling better sooner. And even though it was validating, and now at least I can like work with my doctor on like finding solutions, recently too, it still has been like hard processing that diagnosis and being like, so I'm depressed, like what do I want to do about it? I'm trying not to use that as a pass. I found myself so easily getting in the thought process of like, oh well, I'm depressed, so I can't do anything anyway. And I don't want to be like that, because I would not want anyone I know or any of you guys to be like that as well. So I'm trying to like treat myself with more compassion and work through all of this. It's been really hard. Like weirdly enough, a lot of people in my life don't know about everything that's going on. Obviously my closest like friends and my family members do, but you know, it's hard to talk to people about everything, and you don't want to ever overshare or feel like you're bringing the mood down too much. And even me saying that is crazy, because again, I would never want someone I know to feel that way, but in practice it's so hard. Like it's easier for me to sit here and talk to a camera than to like look at my family members straight in the eye and say like, I'm depressed, you know. Anyway, I do feel a lot better making this video. I feel like it explains a lot of things for you guys as viewers, and I don't feel like I was like obligated to tell this. I actually feel like finally a weight is lifted off of me by telling you guys, because there's been so many times in videos where I would say things like, oh, I've been having a rough month, or like I've been having like a hard time, or I have like some health issues. But I do feel like that kind of like minimizes it, so me explaining, I feel like it explains a lot of things, like why there's been less content, why the vibes have been like off at some points in my videos. Just really miss like feeling connected to you guys and connected to my content and feeling excited about doing things and making things. And I think the first step is making this video so I can finally feel free to say anything and do anything. Even though I try to keep my channel like a positive space, I really do feel like this video is like really necessary for me to make. There's not really a takeaway from this video, which is really hard as someone who likes watching like movies with happy endings and everything. Like, I love having a resolution, and for this there isn't yet. Like, I'm still going through it for both things. Physical health stuff, even though I did get my surgery, we'll have to see what the long-term effects are and whether everything is sorted out with that. And the mental health stuff, again, it'll take a lot of time, but you know, hopefully things get better. As much as I would like to sit here and tell you guys that I've worked through everything and everything is totally fine now, that's not the truth. Because I have heard so many of your guys' stories and I've heard my friends' stories, like, the good thing is, like, I know things will get better. Don't worry, I am pushing through, but I really do appreciate you guys, and thank you if you made it to the end of this video for listening. I know it was kind of a lot. 10 years in, I guess I'm like, let me just share everything. You guys now know about my uterus issues. So anyway, thank you guys. Please, again, keep it a safe, positive space in the comments, not just for me, but for other people who topics like these, you know, might be triggering for other people as well. So let's just be supportive. Again, this video was not meant to gain anything. It's just, I'm just talking, sharing my story. So that's it. I love you guys and keep doodling.